Hey friends, this is Lois Kofi here with another episode of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise. Whether you're tuning in live or you're in iTunes, Podbean, if you're getting this on YouTube later, I want to welcome you. This is the monologue that I do. I haven't been doing very many monologues lately because I've had so many amazing action-packed guests, and this week is no different. I have Henry Klauke coming in and talking about email copywriting and the power of that in your healthy and wealthy and wise life. Today, I want to talk about something that I autobiographically, just being totally transparent, I actually coach on. Things like the 80-20 rule. I talk about the 12-week year. I talk about all the things that in a perfect world in life, right? Everything goes as planned. You get everything done off your to-do list. Life is good. You're checking all the boxes. You're healthy, you're wealthy, and you're wise, right? And truth be told, in January, I got all excited after 10 days off at the end of the year, was ready to go, fully recharged, and I hit the ground running. And I hit the wall because I overcommitted. So if you're in my coaching classes, you've been talking or hearing me talk about focus and really getting clear on how to get more done in less time, working smart versus harder, right? How many of you here would like to work smart and instead of being exhausted, stressed out, feeling overwhelm, things of that nature, right? I think that a few of you out there would probably agree. Part of healthy and wealthy and wise for me means I'm living my best life. I'm not overly stressed. I don't get sick. I have more than enough from an abundant philosophy, right? But sometimes as salespeople and entrepreneurs, we're human, right? And everything looks shiny and new and exciting, and we want to say yes, yes, yes. And that's when we overcommit. And what I've discovered for myself is that's coming from a place of scarcity and lack. And how do we overcome that? Well, I'm bringing back to my consciousness, my coaching clients, as well as you here as my listeners. And today, I want to talk about the 80-20 rule. Essentially, it's called Pareto's Principle. How many of you here have heard of Pareto's Principle? And if you haven't, or even if you have, you're like, what is that, Lois? Or can you remind me? I'm so glad you asked. The Pareto Principle is something that can transform your business as well as your personal life. It basically started out, and it's also known as the 80-20 rule, by the way. It dates back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, when a famous Italian economist, Vilfredo Pareto, Vilfredo, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Please forgive me, Vilfredo. He observed that 80% of Italy's land and wealth was owned by 20% of the population. So I'm going to say that again. 80% of Italy's land and wealth was owned by 20% of its population. So essentially, what that became translated into for you and me, why do you care? What does that apply to in today's world? 80% of our outcomes in life are driven by 20% of our efforts. I'm going to say that again. Let that sink in. You might want to write that down. 80% of our outcomes in life are driven by 20% of our efforts. And I came back to center with that. And oh my gosh, I already feel, just 1 week into February, I already feel lighter, more positive, more energized, refreshed when I wake up, more internally motivated, right? I have more what I call balance in my life. And this can apply to, I'll give you some examples so you can write some of these down. And I am going to give you three quick tips on how to use this in your daily life. Let's say, for example, 80% of your customer acquisitions come from 20% of your discovery calls, or 80% of your leads come from 20% of your lead generation sources. Again, a lot of this you have to be tracking, right? You have to be figuring out, knowing your numbers so you can grow them or change them. And also, where do you spend your time? You don't want to be spreading yourself too thin, spending, way too much of your time on things that aren't returning, getting some results, right? Measurable, tangible results like those. 80% of your sales may come from 20% of your sales team. You might want to know that. Maybe 80% of your revenue are coming from 20% of your customers or clients. You might want to know who those A+ clients are, those A+ referral partners you're with them. There's so many ways. I already said some of them, but if you want to write this stuff down, it's more powerful if you write this down, guys, instead of just listen to me. Okay. You're going to have less stress. When you're spending lots of time in the wrong tasks or with the wrong people, you're eventually going to feel overwhelmed, stressed, worse, burnt out, right? I was starting to feel that in January. Thankfully, I'm in tune. I've been there before, done that, bought the t-shirt, right? You have more focus on the right things. Your time and energy are spent properly, just like your money, right? Time and money budgeting is huge. It's an antidote for stress when you spend the right amount of time with the right things and you get the right rewards back. You'll have more engagement in your work process and your workflow, and even with your customers, your clients, your sales team. If you have sales team, affiliate partners, you're going to be more excited to connect with even fewer people because you're not trying to connect with everybody, right? You have more passion and more energy for your family, your health. You have more passion for your time for that. So the Pareto Principle allows you to get more done with less effort. Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Les Hill, Les Brown, all of the people out there talk about this. And I've coached thousands of people in health and fitness. And I got to tell you, bottom line, guys, this 80-20 principle may be the core secret to your success in 2021 if you choose to apply it. Not just listen to me, not just go watch a webinar, but actually apply it. So here are 3 key things. We got a squirrel. Yeah, what? Stressed out and overwhelmed, says Sean Waite. When does that happen? So ultimately, thanks guys for the comments on here and live. Love you. So here's the 3 tips. Bringing it home because I don't want to take up too much of your time, right? With how you can apply Pareto's principle. Tip number 1, track your time. Consider getting rid of the distractions or things that don't serve you. The only way you can do that is if you track your time. You probably can't see this super well, but this is my timesheet from yesterday. There we go. I have every hour written down, waking hours, of course. I do have my personal things on there. I do have my professional things on there. And at the end of the day, I stop and I reflect and I measure. What did I spend my time on today? Did I get a return on that investment? Did it serve me? Or is it something that maybe tomorrow I'm going to change the amount of time or focus I put into it? I might even take it off of my schedule. I might even cancel or reschedule a couple appointments that don't really get me to my end goal for the week, for the month. If, some of you out there are fans of the 12-week year, I coach on that. That falls right into alignment with the 80-20 rule. I recently just got rid of meetings on my calendar that were longer than 30 minutes. I no longer do anything longer than 20 to 30 minutes for one-on-one, and I actually take off most one-on-ones. I don't do very many one-on-one sales calls anymore because I found for me, as a very full-plated mom, wife, just a lot of things going on in my life personally and professionally. We're looking to move right now. So there's all these things that are added to my plate. So therefore, I had to consciously take off some things off my plate that weren't in my top 20%. When you measure and track your time, again, this is still tip number 1, then you can also figure out what is the best use of your time that is in your top 20%. For ease of use of math, let's say you have 10 things that you do professionally to, build your business, to bring in an income, to serve a certain number of clients, whatever those matrix, those numbers that matter to you. Ultimately, you have only 2 out of those 10, again, 20% of your efforts create 80% of your results. When you track your time and you actually look at your day, it'll tell you where your priorities are. The number one way to self-sabotage is to procrastinate. And if you don't track your time and understand how you're spending it, just like your money, guess what? You're wasting a lot of time. You're self-sabotaging all the way to the bank, and you're not serving as many clients as you can. And not only that, you're not serving them to the deepest level possible. If you feel overwhelmed and stressed, how is that showing up with your clients? How is that showing up with your family? How is that showing up for you? Awesome. Someone out there, Sean, we use a time awareness log. Use it for 21 days. Absolutely. I actually have, if you guys haven't already played with it, if you go to my website, dailycompassandguide.com, and log in and get my free time management tracker. And also, there's other stuff that goes with it that's lead generation specific, but just go to www.dailycompassandguide.com. If you don't already have some kind of tracking tool, there's another tool that I'm going to tell you in a little while that I just found. Super exciting. A new app that can help you also. But go to dailycompassandguide.com. And the cool thing about that is also on that sheet, it builds the Pareto's Principle in. So it's asking you to focus on 2 professional, 2 personal things every day. So you're not overcommitting. And the goal is you don't go to bed until you have those 2 things done, or you renegotiate with yourself. You don't beat yourself up, right? And pull out the boxing gloves. So again, tip number 1, track your time and consider getting over distractions that don't serve you, that show up on your schedule or on your plate. Tip number 2 is automation and outsourcing are not optional. Okay. So I don't know about you, but in this new normal, there can be a lot of things that jump onto our plate that's even more stressful than before 2020, right? Like if all of a sudden my daughter, she has a dental emergency and I got to go take care of that, and we're doing homeschooling, and someone gets sick, and you have a fire to put out. If you systematize and automate your systems, your email campaigns are automated. Maybe you have to, get a virtual assistant to help you with that. All of those kinds of things are super, super critical so that you can get things going and flowing. It really took me 3 to 4 months last year to get things automated and outsourced in a way that I felt really good about. But guess what? Just 3 to 4 months of focus on that. Again, those were part of my top 2, right? Automation and outsourcing, and were part of my top 2 in my business during that particular time of year last year. Now I have money coming in while I sleep. I take things off and out of my headspace so I can think more clearly. Delegate, delegate. If you delegate, then you elevate your time and energy and focus. All of those things are so important. So ask yourself, what can you automate? This is still tip number 2. What can you automate and what can you delegate? What can you automate and what can you delegate? I call it OPT, other people's time, right? So you essentially duplicate yourself. I have 2 virtual assistants that help me with that. The devil is in the details, guys. And if you do every single thing yourself, like sending out 1 email at a time as opposed to getting an email campaign system that does it for you, doesn't make any sense. Or hiring someone else to do that, right? So that was tip number 2. Last but not least is number 3 is focus on key clients and referral partners. This could be in your top 20%. I put it on here just as you to really think about, start planting that seed. If it's not in your top 2, it should be in your top 10. Okay. No one succeeds alone. right? If you focus on key clients and key referral partners, I gave that example earlier. If you find out that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your sales team or your customers or referral partners, if you're like me, you have an affiliate program, I reward those people, right? I have a referral contest right now with my affiliates. Whoever brings me the most referrals next week for my free class, they're going to get a $100 Amazon gift card. I am all about rewarding. It's like your kids. Reward what you want to see duplicated. So take care of those A pluses, those A's, those people that are your A team, your clients who love you, your tribe, your raving fans that are giving you pre-qualified leads that you can close much sooner. And if you have that automated system and you know what your priorities are, then that helps you make money while you sleep, and you don't have to buy leads. You don't have to do Facebook ads. You don't have to do all of the things. So the one thing that I did forget, I just realized I forgot one thing that I had in tip number one. Okay. Tip number one was part of tracking your time. There's a new app that my coach referred to me. It's called Focus Keeper. Okay. It kind of brings everything together. It helps automate things, whereas you can set a timer on that app and it'll tell you when to stop working and take a break. Right? Because part of what I discovered is focused energy, like the power of full engagement, another life-changing tool and book, right? The power of being fully engaged and focused at any one time is so critical. So critical. So that again goes back to tip number one, to be able to use a tool that even helps guide you, right? And helps you have the ability to not get off track, not to get distracted. Like you could even set it for if you're going into Facebook, right? Or Clubhouse. I know some people are spending like 3 or 4 hours a day in Clubhouse, and I'm kind of like, why are you doing that? What's the goal? Is that on your top 20% that's creating 80% of your results? You know, that's something to truly think about. So I want to close with a story that I feel can really summarize this very well. And if you guys follow my fan page, Lois Kofi Enterprises, you've probably seen this story. If you've been a client of mine, you know this story also very, very well. And it's called The Mayonnaise Jar and 2 Cups of Coffee. So when things in your life seem almost too much to handle, when 24 hours in a day are not enough, remember the mayonnaise jar and 2 cups of coffee story. A professor stood before his philosophy class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, he picked up a very large empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with golf balls. These are the industrial sized jars sold to large restaurant chains. So it was a fairly big jar. He then asked the students, once he filled the jar with the golf balls, if the jar was full, and they agreed that it was. The professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar gently, and the pebbles rolled into the open cracks between the golf balls. He then asked if the jar was full. Again, they agreed that it was. The professor next picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. So pouring the sand filled up everything else. He asked once then more if the jar was full. The class said with a unanimous yes. The professor then produced 2 cups of coffee from under the table and poured the entire contents, effectively filling the empty space between the sand. Now the students laughed. Now, said the professor, as the laughter subsided, I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things, your family, your children, your health, your friends, and your favorite passions. Remember, I talked about passion there before. And if everything was lost and only they remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, your car. The sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, he continued, there is no room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same goes for your life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important to you. You won't be living the healthy and wealthy and wise life, inserts Lois. Pay attention to the things that are critical, that top 20%. Play with your children, take time to get medical checkups, take your spouse out to dinner, play another 18 rounds of golf. There will always be time to clean the house and fix the disposal. Take care of the golf balls first, the things that really matter. Set your priorities. The rest is just sand. Oh, the story always gets me. One of the students raised her hand and inquired, what did the coffee represent? And the professor smiled. I'm glad you asked. No matter whatever is going on in life, it just goes to show you, no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple of cups of coffee with a friend. Now, in summary, just to remind you, ultimately, that story was definitely focusing more on prioritization. Same thing can go for your business and your personal life, right? What are those golf balls, those top 20%, those top two things that hit your business that really, really bring in 80% of your efforts and can impact you, your family, your legacy, how people remember you, because they're watching. They're watching how you show up, right? I also want to close in just a gentle reminder. I'm going to be teaching more about the Pareto's Principle next week in my 5-day free, and it's only free through the 23rd. And I'm actually going to do some live raw filming starting on Saturday. So you want to be in this course, guys. We're going to talk about lead generation, sales mastery. We're going to talk about manifestation. We're going to talk about how to not waste a bunch of time and money on funnels and Clubhouse and, where do I begin? What do I do? Who am I? What's my name? Because there's a lot of distractions out there, guys. And if your priorities aren't straight, you will not have health and wealth and wisdom in the way that I believe you deserve and you were meant to have, right? Be, do, have. We're going to talk about how you can be and do and have the best results you ever could possibly have or dreamed of in 2021 if you just choose to. And if you check out my course, I promise you I'm going to pour into you. It's 5 hours, 5 days. And then at the back end, I'm going to close it out. It won't be accessible anymore. You can only consume it once or maybe twice during that week. And then from there, I will be selling the course on the back end. So I'd love for you guys to be beta testers, to experience that course, and to be inspired to take action to live your best life. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and have a great day. Until next time, here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. Bye-bye for now.